climber.
Yeah.
Very good. What can you tell us about this?
It's perfect. It'll get you perfectly hydrated.
Perfectly hydrated. That sounds great. Sierra Blair-Coyle.
Yes.
Welcome to Nick's Vancast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Psyched to have you on. This is the furthest that Nick's Vancast has traveled from California to have a guest.
Oh, I'm flattered.
We are here in Scottsdale, Arizona?
Yes, Scottsdale.
Okay. That's not Phoenix, right?
No, we're a suburb of Phoenix, I guess, or like the Phoenix metropolitan area.
Okay. You're a professional rock climber.
Yes.
This is so sick. Feel free to introduce yourself. Welcome.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Sierra Blair-Coyle, and I'm a professional rock climber from Scottsdale, Arizona.
How'd you get into climbing? Is it just because of the phenomenal rocks around here? Because there's a lot.
Yeah, so I actually got introduced to climbing at a mall here. It's an outdoor mall, and in the middle of summer, which is 110 plus degrees for us Fahrenheit, there's a climbing wall there, and I would climb it and just have a great time and, just stay there for way longer than I was, supposed to. It's like 3 climbs for $5 or something. And my mom would take me back, every single day in summer. And I fell in love with it and told her I wanted to become a professional rock climber. And she was like, hey, that's so great. But I don't really know if this is like a thing. And I was like, oh, okay. But a couple weeks later in the newspaper, there's an article on a youth climbing team in Arizona that had just gone to nationals. And, they had some kids that did well. So my mom asked if I wanted to join the team. And, of course, I said yes. And it really just snowballed from there.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So how old were you at the time?
I was 8.
So you're 8 years old and you say, I want to be a professional rock climber.
Yep.
And here you are.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So how long was it after that? I mean, there's probably a whole journey there, but becoming a professional rock climber, what was that journey for you from loving it to making it your career?
For me, I always thought I became a professional when I was 14, like the first time I made pro finals at a competition. It's a little hard in climbing because it's just not as regimented as other sports. There's no like real clear line on like who's a professional and who isn't. But that was the moment for me, and I've just, treated myself as a professional athlete ever since then.
And the passion has just grown, would you say, through your career?
Yeah, definitely. It's changed a lot, and I've grown with it, and I've seen climbing grow, and, my love for it has changed in different ways. But yeah, there's nothing that gets me more psyched than a good climbing day still.
And there are many facets of climbing, right? There's bouldering, sport climbing, all sorts of things. What would you say that you primarily do these days?
Definitely primarily boulder at 99.999% of the time.
When did that shift? Because, I think when I learned about who you were doing some rope climbing as well, right?
I'm not sure. When did you learn about me?
Okay, yeah. So, people, backstory. We connected back like 6 years ago, I want to say, when you had a rope sponsor, Blue Water Ropes.
Yes.
And they had a contest on Instagram. Make a video. This is really embarrassing for me. Make a video, like a Valentine's video.
Yep.
For Sierra Blair-Coyle. You can win this rope. And I made a video and I won. So yeah, like back then, would that mean that you were doing more sport climbing?
I still wasn't sport climbing that much back then, honestly. When I, first joined the Blue Water team, I was sport climbing more. And then basically in, I guess 2008, I really kind of stopped sport climbing. So I would do it on occasion. Nice enough to have their support despite my kind of lackluster sport climbing. But yeah.
I kind of want to play the video. Like I said, it's embarrassing for me, but for context, we can play it.
I think so. It has to happen.
I might not be able to stick epic dynos like you, and I might not have fingers of steel either, but why be chasing grades when I could be chasing you? I'm not asking you to tie the knot, just to, hang out. So what do you say, Sierra? Be my Valentine? I can't even watch that.
I think it's perfect. I love it so much. Like, it honestly been so long, I really couldn't remember when I came in. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, didn't weird you out too much. You're here doing this podcast with me.
That's true, see?
But like you said, that really wasn't your focus to begin with, sport climbing?
No, I started at an all bouldering gym in 2002, and then in early 2004, that gym closed. So the team went to another gym, and that had bouldering and sport climbing. And so I was doing both, and then I basically did both until 2008. Then I just did bouldering. And then, one time I calculated how long I'd gone in between, like, sport climbing. It was like something like 10 years or, like, maybe that's dramatic. Maybe it was, like, sport climbing competitions, but, yeah, don't pick up the rope too much.
Yeah. I always remember really liking sport climbing. I don't know, it was something about being on the wall like longer. And honestly, for me, I was just terrible at bouldering. For something,
Yeah.
it was like more like muscly moves and I don't know, grip strength more involved. What did you like more about bouldering?
It was just a lot more fun for me is the best way to say it. I liked it. I never liked sport climbing hard. Like even now, like I like to sport climb easy. Like if I can do it, I just enjoy like the motion of climbing. But in bouldering, I like to like push myself and do the hard moves. Maybe it's just because I'm impatient. I don't know.
Well, climbing in general, I feel like is a really cool thing because it's like you see the thing, you climb the thing. It's like you do or you don't. I don't
Yeah.
know. For me, as like someone who's, I would say, somewhat task oriented, it's like really, gratifying to climb the thing, and you see that. So that's cool that you chose that. I mean, do you think there's a reason, like in your mind, why climbing really, really stuck out in your mind at such a young age?
The best thing I can say is something about it just felt right to me. And that's kind of the only thing. I think the other thing I would say is when I was younger, I was pretty naturally talented, just at like kind of whatever, like pretty naturally smart, didn't have to study too hard, pretty good at most sports. And then what would happen is when things would get hard, in sports, I would just like want to quit. But then once climbing got hard, I didn't want to quit. So there was, I don't know, just something about it that made it different, and kind of was just meant to be.
Climbing also in that regard is an individual sport in a way, but you probably also have people that you like feed off of and kind of train alongside to some extent, right?
Yeah, no, there are definitely quite a few people that I'm, lucky enough to get to see them when they're in the gym and we get to session together, and it's always a really nice time.
Yeah. Was there a particular moment when you were like, oh, I'm like good at this, and this is like this dream that I had as a young kid is coming true?
I think, okay, so this is so long ago, but for me, when I first started climbing, like I said, I was like pretty naturally good at everything. So I entered my first competition 2 weeks after I started climbing on the team. And they're like, do you want to do a competition? And I was like, I can do a competition. Are you sure? Like, I'm pretty new at this. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. You can compete. So I did the competition and I placed third out of 3 people. And in my head, I was like, wow, well, like, why didn't I win that, And so I'd say for me, in my first year of climbing, I didn't win a single competition. And that's totally, fine and, like, to be expected. But for me, like, being young, I just couldn't understand, like, what was going on. And then I remember I won my first competition ever in 2004. And I was, like, January 2004. That's, like, how clearly I remember this. But ever since then, I just felt like I was good because I started winning. And there are people I know, and it's like crazy to think about, that have never won a single competition in their life, like at a local level or at, an elite level, just going all the way. And I don't know, that just always made me feel like, I was a good climber. And if I ever get down on my climbing, I'm like, hey man, there are people who've never won anything, hard work goes into it, but also be thankful.
Absolutely. And it's like you love climbing regardless, it sounds like that, the result comes with the hard work, of course, but at the end of the day, I think it sounds like you're going to love it either way.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think so. I mean, it's like, and if you're not loving it, what's the point?
Yeah. That's like a huge thing behind like why I wanted to do this podcast, is talking to people who are really passionate about what they do and they've found a way to make it their career, which is super cool that you've been able to do that. What kind of work goes into making a professional rock climber? Because I'm sure there is some, talent that someone can be born with, but it's not an accident that you're a professional rock climber.
I think it's just a lot of hard work with climbing. So there's obviously like the professional side of it because, like I said, it's like less regimented. It's not like joining the NHL where like there's kind of like steps in how things happen and whatever. But you just work really, really hard. And for me, it was always like every decision I made in every area of my life was towards climbing. It's like, is this going to help or hurt my climbing? If it's going to hurt my climbing, I'm not going to do it. And like, that's how I was functioning since like 2004. Like that's just how it was for me. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you want to be like really good at something, is like people don't realize it's like, no, it's not like you just show up at the gym and you work hard. It's like you work hard 24/7. And I think that's why it's so hard, is because it's so all consuming.
It's like the thing you do in the gym, but it's also all you do outside. It's what you eat, how much you sleep, all of that.
Exactly. I'm like, do you want to think about something 24/7, become a professional athlete?
Yeah. You have to be like obsessed about it.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you keep from getting burned out and continue being passionate about being on this path?
I've always been a pretty good workhorse, so I can just like put my nose to the grindstone if I'm getting burnt out. And I think for me, if I feel like I'm just like really at the edge of it, you know, if I just take a night off and like sit on the couch and eat some ice cream, usually does me a world of good. Or I'll climb with my friends that day instead of doing a workout, or, you know, go to a new climbing gym and just focus on having fun. And, you know, once you realize like the things you need to incorporate to kind of refresh yourself, you always have like a way to fix your burnout problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I ran cross country in college, and there were a lot of times when I would just like go hard to the wall like every day, thinking I would, you know, find myself at the top of the leaderboard versus all these other Division I schools. But you can only push yourself so much to a point where you're going to get mentally burned out, and also, you know, you physically start to burn out as well.
Yep.
Was there someone who taught you that balance, or just kind of figuring it out by trial and error?
I just trial and error. I think I pushed the balance like as far as I could for sure. I remember when I was in college, graduated like 4 years on time, kind of like normal business or whatever. But yeah, my parents were like, why don't you take a semester off? You seem pretty stressed out. And I was like, absolutely not. That means I would like end a semester later and be stressed out for an extra semester, you know? So I've always erred on the side of like, you're probably going to be okay.
So you went to college here in Arizona?
I did. I went to Arizona State.
I actually was there today for the first time.
Yes, how was it?
My little sister goes there. It's an amazing place. It's a really beautiful campus.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I went to school at San Jose State in California, and I'm like, this is just like cleaner and nicer. And yeah, my sister loves it. I heard it gets, like you said, like hundreds like all the time. I was like, how can you manage? I mean, for you too, living and training in that heat for a lot of the year, right?
Yeah, well, the gyms are all air conditioned, so that's the thing. You know, it's not a huge deal. And then for just like being outside in general, you adapt. You know, it's like if you live in a cold place, you get more used to the cold. Same here with the heat. You drink a lot of water. Yeah, you just really kind of deal with it. Try and be in the water a lot if you're outside. Like that's the thing in summer. Like you're indoors or you're going swimming. You know.
I mean, it's a good thing that we're doing this podcast in a van in January.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be like unbearable. But no, she really likes it, and I really like it too. And I always think I really like the heat, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe I wouldn't like that hot all the time. But who knows? You adapt.
I think it's also like the nasty heat is probably for 1 month a year, and it's not even that bad some years. Like every once in a while, you get a week where it's just like it's hot, and if you go up north, it's hot, and if you go like east, west, and south, it's hot, and you feel like a little trapped. But the rest of the year, it's so nice. Like right now, it's like low 70s in January. You know, it's really can't complain.
I was cold this morning. It was kind of nice to be cold in Arizona. So yeah. So I'm sure climbing has taken you to a lot of cool places outside of Arizona.
It has.
Where's a favorite place you've gone, or what are some cool moments that you've had that climbing's taken you?
Yeah, so coolest place ever, definitely Iceland. I've been there twice. I went there the first time after a World Cup in Munich, and it was the end of the World Cup season, and I wanted to just go somewhere for fun because, you know, since May of that year, it was just like travel, like work hard. And we were going to go to Italy or Spain. And then I looked at a map and I was like, I'm just going to see if there are other countries I'm not thinking of. And I saw Iceland. And I looked at pictures and I was like, okay, we got to go to Iceland. Like, this looks amazing. So we did that. I wasn't even going to climb that like little 4 days we were there the first time. And towards the end, when we went back to Reykjavik to fly out, like the night before, I was like, I got to go to the climbing gym. Like, this is what happens. I can take like 2 or 3 days off and then I'm like itching. Like, I'm like, I got to go climbing. Yeah. So I go in and I was talking to them about the climbing there and the climbing outside. And they're like, oh, you have to come back for the climbing outside. So yeah, 3 years later in 2018, I did 2 weeks climbing outside in Iceland. And it was just so cool. Like Iceland itself is like so beautiful. And it was just so fun to climb there. And we had like a good group of people. It was basically my mom, our like guide / photographer, Garper, and then my friend Andre. And yeah, we just had an absolute blast just climbing and, you know, just experiencing Iceland, I guess.
Yeah. Was that bouldering there?
We did bouldering. They asked if I wanted to sport climb one day, and I definitely said no. But there is sport climbing.
Yeah.
And probably trad as well.
Have you trad climbed before?
I've top roped, like, stuff that people have already led, but that's just like top roping, I feel like, at that point.
I mean, it can get pretty heady up there still, like
Yeah.
out in the open space and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you climbed like in Yosemite before?
I haven't.
That was a place I climbed a lot when I first started climbing. And yeah, I definitely had some big freak out moments.
Yeah. I can't even imagine, like, when I'm sport climbing, even like, I don't know, in the gym when it's like 40 feet tall, I like look down sometimes and I'm like, oh, the ground's far away.
So are you like somewhat afraid of heights?
Not really. I just like, it weirds me out when I turn around and look. Like, I don't so much enjoy the view.
Yeah. So no like highball bouldering.
Oh, no, I also just don't want to die on a highball boulder. Like, I would definitely do, like, a highball V0 to V2, count me in. Like, I'm, like, very confident. Anything above that, like, I could fall for sure.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, it's just not worth the risk for me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of risk involved with climbing, of course. Like, I don't know. With bouldering, there's definitely a fair share of injury. Maybe not, like, from the height, but you can fall weird and all sorts of strange things. Have you had, like, any, like, injuries from climbing itself?
I mean, like, sprained ankles and kind of that, but from falls. This one, okay, in the past couple of years, I've, like, scraped myself on volumes a bunch, like my ribs or, like, like my outer thigh, I guess. And that's always, like, really nasty because it's like a burn, so it doesn't, like, heal very well. But this was, like, a million years ago, but I did a dyno in the gym, and I basically, like, caught it, and my feet just kept going. So it's, like, horizontal. Then my hands lost it, and I just was, like, just going straight, like, face first into the pad, and my arms were out at first, but somehow I, like, pulled them back, because I, like, in my head, I was thinking, I'm like, don't land on your arms, you could break your arms, you know? And so I just took it in my face instead, and, like, oh, it's, like, I thought I, like, must have broken my neck. Like, I could walk, and I was fine, but, like, my nose hurt a bunch, and I got up, and I was like, guys, is my nose broken? And they're like, no, your nose isn't broken. I'm like, you're just lying to me, right, because it's broken, isn't it? They're like, no, your nose is fine. And it just, like, oh, so my nose, like, hurt and was puffy for a couple days. Like, I had whiplash. I was, like, going to get adjustments and, like...
So you really hit your face?
Oh, I hit my face. It's so bad.
Oh, my gosh.
It was so bad.
Did you get it on video, at least?
Yeah.
Okay, that's something, at least, right?
Yeah.
Because you're fine.
Yeah.
There was something I read. You had a back injury when you were younger, right?
I did, yeah. I had a bulging torn and herniated disc, L5S1.
Okay, for other people who don't know what that means, can you tell us a little bit about what that was and what that meant for your climbing? Yeah,
so the injury itself is basically like, you know, your discs are supposed to be like in between, you know, your vertebrae or whatever, sections of spine. So bulging is it's like sticking out of where it's supposed to be. The torn is there's a tear, and herniated means it's like leaking. It's like disc juice. And some people have like disc problems and don't even know it. Like it doesn't affect anything. But for me, it was just like my lower back, really painful, really hard to sit, really hard to like lift my legs. And it probably took like a good year to 2 to get it fully healed. I was getting PRP injections every 2 weeks, and that would help a lot. But yeah, it was a pretty gnarly one.
That's crazy. And so did it come from anything, or did it just randomly take place? Like, why does that happen?
I think it probably came from like a bunch of little things in training, but it was never like an acute thing.
So at that point, did you think, like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to take climbing where I want to take it? Like, what was that like for you at that time?
No, I thought I'd be fine. You know, I was also like 17, so I was like, you know, like, it'll be fine. I'll just like do whatever I have to. It just was never like an option to not. I just knew I had to adapt my climbing around it. I think a lot of times injuries can get like really, you know, over dramatized where it's like, oh, this is like a huge problem. And it's like, most of the time it's not, you know, like, might take a while, but if you can persevere, you can overcome it.
Oh, maybe that's just your champion mentality. Where you're like, no, I'm fine. No, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
That's.
It's fine.
I feel like that's definitely a mentality that if you want to be successful, it's something you have to have.
Yeah.
That's really cool. There's something I want to talk about, and I think this kind of segues into that because I feel like you're able to kind of like share that inspiration with others. And I think that's so cool that you don't just utilize your skills and your talents and your gifts just for yourself, but you're able to share that with others through things like social media. You have quite a good following on social media, and you're able to inspire others.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you, and how did that all take place as well?
Yeah, so I guess it was just the natural progression of, you know, social media was starting to get like pretty big, like when I was in high school, and ended up having, you know, like an Instagram and a Facebook fan page and a Twitter, you know, and yeah, I just always tried to like post consistently and interact with people, and that's kind of been my like tried and true formula from day one until now. And it's fun for me. I think people enjoy it, especially like being able to ask me questions and interact. So it's fun all around, I would say.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things. And another reason why I really wanted to have you on here is because, again, you share this insight into what you do for training and why you love climbing. You do these, like, is it like a weekly Ask Me type thing?
I do, yeah, every Tuesday. And I've been doing it since 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like consistently.
Oh, we're almost at our 10-year anniversary.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you throw it up on Instagram and just say, ask me questions?
Pretty much, yeah. I actually started on Tumblr in 2012 because I had a Tumblr. I still do. I'm pretty bad about updating it. Gonna work on it. But people would ask me questions throughout the week and I'd answer them. And then I was like, man, it'd just be like a lot easier if I could consolidate this to one day. And then I also, so like that went through my brain, but I also got inspiration too from Sean McColl on his website. I don't think it's this one, the old one. He basically had like a Q&A section. But I think a lot of them were user-submitted Q&As, if I remember correctly. And I was like, oh, that's smart. That's a good idea. So I kind of somehow meshed all of this into, I used to call it Tumblr Tuesday. Now it's kind of just like Questions Tuesday or...
That's really cool. Why do you think that you've been able to connect so well with people? Because, I mean, for me, it's been really cool just to see someone who's performing at such a high level and sharing that, professional insight.
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
I think I was one of the first climbers to do it in general, so I definitely had that bit of an advantage. And then I'm not sure otherwise. I just think I like try and be honest and like helpful. And, there's certain things I like won't comment on, but for the most part, I just try and be like really straight with people about like who I am and like what I think about things and, kind of take it or leave it. I'm always doing my best to give like what I think is the best advice or the best answers to questions.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I mean, almost 10 years later and people don't run out of questions to ask.
I swear they never run out of questions to ask.
I also saw that you get some strange questions as well.
All the time.
What is up with that? It's like questions that are awkward to sometimes things you shouldn't say to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I don't know why they do it. Maybe because these things you wouldn't say to someone if you were face to face with them.
That's
it's
right.
Like, how do you deal with the weirdos of the internet?
I'm just so used to them at this point that it's not that I approve or condone of any of this like tomfoolery, but I just mainly like laugh. I'm like, you're so weird,
I mean, the majority of it has to be just all love and people.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like 99% plus awesomeness.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just remember the weird ones because they're so weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool that you're able to climb at a high level and then share this insight. It's such a dynamic whole, really, empire that you've created.
Yeah.
What has been like the most gratifying part of that? Has it been, achievements? Has it been sharing your story and sharing these insights with people? What do you love the most about what you're doing?
I think it's like achievements, opportunities, and being able to make a difference. Because sometimes just like little advice I get to give people about, they ask me something simple like, what's, good for your skin? I'm like, well, I take, this many fish oils a day and it's really helped my skin. And then 6 months later, hey, I've been taking fish oils consistently. My skin's a lot better. Thanks for, like, it's just like being able to make a difference or like just small, like training things I tell them that help or things to focus on. And it's cool when people come back and tell me like, it really did make a difference in their life. It's just small things. I really like to hear that I have some good ideas and that they can help people.
Absolutely. It's really cool to see you inspiring people, and it probably feels great. Is it just like so second nature to you now to be like a public figure and just like sharing? I'm sure you don't share every facet of your life, but to be more in the spotlight than anybody else.
Yeah, I think I'm just really used to it at this point. It's I don't even have to think about it for the most part. I would say everything comes pretty naturally. Every once in a while I have to I'm like, oh, should I say this or should I post this? But for the most part, it's just so ingrained that it's very natural.
I think it's really important for people with things to say and inspiring stories to share it with people. I mean, it's weird for me doing like this podcast. I'm usually the guy like behind the camera.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, what do I say? Like, do I have anything to say? Like, it's kind of weird. I cut myself shaving. I'm like, I don't want to be on camera. I'm usually behind the camera.
Oh, no.
So it's like second nature to you, but do you still find like excitement in being able to like, excite people with when you answer their question?
Oh, yeah. I get excited about questions all the time or messages or just like cool things that happen or small things or like products I get to try. It's all very exciting to me still. And yeah, it's cool.
I mean, this podcast episode came out from, Instagram, actually.
Exactly.
Connecting through Instagram. You've done other podcasts, right?
Yeah, I have. I've done quite a few at this point.
Yeah. Probably, are you bored by now?
No, I love being on podcasts, and I listen to so many. One day, actually, I say this, we'll see if I get around to it, but I would think it'd be fun to have my own podcast, but I don't think I want to talk about climbing. So
What would you talk about?
I don't know. I really like to give people advice, apparently, and I listen to like a lot of advice podcasts. I think I just like love to know what's going on in people's lives and just to think about it. So
Okay, stepping aside from climbing, what do you like to do outside of climbing?
I would say I love to read. I love to go on adventures too. That's my kind of like big rest day thing, and especially in summers, I like try and check out new swimming holes. My mom's basically my adventure buddy, so we always try and get up to something fun. But yeah, I'm really into exploring Arizona right now, honestly. So I'm trying to hit like the major spots, and my favorite thing though is to find the off the beaten path spots or off the beaten trail. And yeah, nothing brings me more joy than somewhere off the beaten trail that's really cool and, you know, I can get psyched about. So if anyone ever wants to give me local recommendations wherever you live, I will take them and I will love them. And I will not give away your secret areas either.
So you're still finding those places because growing up here, you're still finding new things to do?
Yeah, it's crazy. The amount of time I spend online finding these places is like absurd, or just like, you know, talking to my friends. There's this other place that I went to this summer. I don't know how like secret it is, so I just won't say where it is, but it had a bunch of waterfalls and the access was like really easy. Like the people should maybe not be made aware of it because it's so easy. And yeah, just like a local told me about it and I was like, this is the sickest thing ever, you know, like I just live for this.
I mean, I think that goes hand in hand with the climbing too, like having that adventurous spirit.
Oh yeah.
Climbing rocks, these things that people don't do on a typical day.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And you have cats, right?
I do.
One cat, more cats?
I have two. I have Mia and Precious.
Okay. How old are they?
They're both 3. They're litter mates. Mia's a tortie and Precious is, I mean, I don't know how to describe her. She's like white and gray, but kind of black. She's mostly a rag doll because we did their base paws, so we know their DNA. But Precious is significantly bigger than Mia. We're talking like at least twice her size.
Really?
So yeah, they're a funny pair to see walking around because Mia's just like a tiny thing.
Yeah. I was like maybe secretly hoping that the cats would make an appearance today, but that's okay.
Oh, I know. I wish they could. It's like, I think I could have brought them in, but they would have been panicking a little. Mia would have gotten like okay with it, and she would have like, yeah, she would have gotten in everything. She would have been up here like knocking stuff over, but Precious would have been scared.
And you take your cats outside, I heard, right?
Yeah, so at the other house, we had like a big backyard that was fenced in, so we'd walk them on leashes in the backyard, and they could start running, and we'd have to run, you know, but now I live in a condo, and I have a patio on the first floor, and so first we took them out on the patio with leashes, and then they earn their privilege of not having leashes, but every once in a while, one of them will jump over the little fence into the like common grass area, and then they lose their privilege, and they have to go back on the leash for a while, so yeah. They still enjoy it, though. It's the best part of their day for sure.
Did they tell you that? They're like, we love this.
Yeah, no, it's... Plus, every morning you wake up and Mia just stands by like the door. She's like ready to go outside, and she'll stand and paw at it. So.
Do you see that cat on Instagram, Suki cat?
Oh yeah.
That's like, I love that cat. I'm like, if I ever get a cat, I want to get a cat that is cool going outside. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, so kind of tying it back all in together, adventures, climbing. What has been like your favorite? You talked about going to Iceland. Mm-hmm. What has been like? Do you have like a favorite story or moment from like a competition? Or from you know, climbing as a career that you've had that really like stands out to you?
I don't know if this is like the right story, but this one's pretty funny. So we were deep water soloing in Arizona. This is like, I guess would be about 6 or 7 years ago now. And my friend Chris has a canoe. And so it was me, Chris, and 2 other guys. And Winslow's 3 hours away from Scottsdale, right? 3 hours away from all of us. So we're like, and we do it in a day, and you're like out in the sun, and you're like in the water, and you're climbing, so you're really tired. So it's the end of the day, right? And we get back to the car with the canoe, and we put the canoe on top, and Chris left the driver's door open to the car as we're loading it. So I just went, walked by, I was like walking to do something, shut the door. And all of a sudden, I just like, no, and I asked one of the other guys, I'm like, hey, do you have the keys? And he's like, no, I don't have the keys. I'm like, are you serious? And I go and look, and the keys are like, you know, in the driver's seat. So we started trying to open all the doors, like the hatchback is closed, they're all locked, and there are like a couple of other people in this parking lot. It's like a city park is where you like launch the boat from, which is kind of funny. So I'm like walking around to people, I'm like, hey, can anyone like jimmy the door open? You know, I got the keys locked in the car. And so some guys come over and try and help. They like can't get it open. It's getting cloudy and like windy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And everyone's like, I'm so sorry. Like, and so I called the locksmith in town and they just don't answer. Winslow's like not a very big town. I'm not surprised the locksmith isn't working. It's probably the weekend too. And so I have to call a locksmith an hour away in Flagstaff. And I'm like trying to handle this because I'm the one who locked the keys in the car. And so I'm the only one on the phone. And this is important because I like tell him what happened. And he's like, well, that's an hour away. Like, it's going to be a really expensive charge for me to come and like open the car. And I was like, that's okay. Like, we really have no other way to get home. So I'm going to pay you for it. And he was like being really like obstinate about leaving. And I was like, please, will you come like do this? Like, we don't have anyone else we can call. And so I had to give him like my credit card number over the phone, which was also fine. But I like actually fumbled it when I said it. And I realized it after we like stopped talking. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if he doesn't show up? Because my credit card was in the car locked. So I couldn't double check it. And so I get off the phone and I like tell them, I'm like, oh my gosh, he was like so mean. He like did not want to come out and help. And so anyway, now it starts pouring rain. One of the guys doesn't have shoes because he just left them in the car. Because when you're in the canoe all day, you don't like need your flip flops. So we're all hiding in like one of those park style bathrooms, like all four of us to like stay out of the pouring rain, blah, blah. We end up getting back out and the locksmith shows up and is like super nice to all of them. And I'm like, I swear this guy was so mean to me on the phone. So it takes him 2 seconds to open the car. 2 seconds and $300 later, the car is open. And then we're all kind of like frazzled and like ready to go home. So we're driving home. And about an hour later, my friend Chris goes, guys, we need some gas. Like, we need some gas really bad. So we pull in the first gas station we see, which is in the middle of nowhere. And it's closed because it's like 8 p.m. and they don't have credit card readers on the pumps. And so we basically had to like float down the hill until we found another gas station. And we were all just like trying to be cool about it, but all like stressing out. And then it was fine after that. But yeah, that just trip is like a big whirlwind because I always feel so bad because I was the one who, locked the keys in the car.
It's definitely an epic, but you're laughing now, so that's good. Type 2 fun.
It gets referenced like every once in a while.
Yeah.
To be fair though, on our previous deep water soloing trip before that one though, Chris did flip the canoe with me and another person in it. So, it was like a little bit of payback somehow.
Okay.
Like really rough payback.
With all your, did you have chalk and shoes and all that? So, does that affect when you're deep water soloing?
Usually you have everything in a dry bag.
Oh. I've always wondered that.
Yeah, plus if you get your stuff out of the water like quick, it's not a big deal. It's like when it's in the water and you don't notice, or when like whatever your watercraft is has water in it and you don't notice, that's when you're like, uh-oh.
Chris Sharma does a lot of deep water soloing like in Spain. Have you seen any of those videos?
Yeah.
Do you know Chris?
I've met him before.
Really?
We're definitely not like friends or anything, but yeah, I know him.
So I've always been like, deep water soloing seems so cool.
It's really cool. It's very fun. It also is always pretty. That's, I guess most climbing areas are pretty, but something about deep water soloing areas are always beautiful.
Speaking of Chris Sharma, he's from Santa Cruz. I saw on your Ask Me like a week ago that you've been there.
I have, yeah. I've actually been to Santa Cruz twice. One time was for Roxy photo shoot, and then the other time, a friend and I did a trip from San Francisco down to, would Monterey be the most south? Or
yeah, Monterey south of Santa Cruz.
Or, wait, Cambria. No, Cambria was the first, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the castles there.
Yeah, we actually didn't go to that. He was like, eh.
I've never been there.
Oh, I wanted to go so badly.
Yeah. So did you do anything in Santa Cruz?
Ate at Cafe Gratitude, went to the climbing gym. That's pretty much it.
Pacific Edge.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a climbing gym here that you go to primarily, or a couple that you want to shout out?
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. So I have my own moonboard, actually, which is at my friend's shop where he makes holes. That's Thrive Climbing. Thanks, Ryan. I climb at Black Rock, climb at Alta. Those are kind of the two places. Oh, and Rock Solid, which is technically like North Tucson. So I volley around in between those places mainly.
Did you say moonboard?
Yes.
The ones with they have lights on it?
Yep.
It's been a while for me, but those are so challenging.
Yeah, they're rough.
It just makes me mad.
I think that's the thing that's hard about them is there's a very high barrier to entry.
Yeah. I feel like I was like, I'm getting stronger, let's go for it. And then it's like, kicks you in the butt.
Yeah, I don't want to scare anyone away, but I feel like if you boulder V6 or 7 comfortably, you're going to have a really good time. There's a lot to do, but anything below that, it just gets a lot harder.
Do you have any advice that you give people? I'm sure people ask you online. I know I'm jumping all over the place. Do people ask you who are just like totally brand new to the sport and like, what do I even do?
Yeah, and I think that's what's so crazy is like, yeah, climbing's just so weird that it's really hard to find like a good training plan or to know what to do. But basically, what I tell people is one, like climb as much as possible. If you're a beginner, you just need a lot of time on the wall. Two, remember to use your legs. A lot of people forget that, especially men are going to like lean more towards like the upper body. And don't be afraid to ask for help too. You know, especially if you're a beginner, like other people in the climbing gym, chances are they are better than you. And so if you need help up something like, hey, could you tell me how you did this or do you have any advice? And gym staff is usually helpful too. And then obviously just have fun with it.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the main things when I started climbing was like climbing is such a cool community of people that are always willing to help for the most part.
Yeah.
Like staff at gyms and stuff like that. How do you deal with, I guess, moments where you either like, do you ever have moments in your career when you're like either like plateau or have like disappointments in like the way you think training is going, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah. See, I have the advantage of just having climbed forever at this point. So I know you can go a long time thinking you're like not doing great at climbing, and then all of a sudden it comes together. So I would say I don't worry too much about any plateaus or if I feel like things aren't working out. There's a lot to be said about just perseverance, you know, trusting the process and just having faith in yourself that it'll all come together. And it's weird how you make strides too. You know, sometimes you might start doing something new in climbing or like a new training thing for me. And like I see a lot of improvement in like a month. And then other times it's like a year and a half goes by and I'm like just inching up and getting better. And then I just see like a big blast of improvement. So it stinks, but it's just about being patient.
And consistent, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about age? Because like you said, you've been doing it just forever now.
Yeah.
From such a young age. Do you ever give advice to people who are starting out and they're starting out like as adults? And is there still hope for improvement when you start out, not as a child?
Oh, yeah, there's a ton of hope for improvement as adults. My advice basically still stands what I said earlier with just, you know, climb as much as you can, use your legs, ask for help, have fun. That's all you really need to do. I think kids have this advantage that I didn't really realize where I started climbing where my body was still growing. And so my tendons and like muscles just got to like adapt to that. But adults, I've noticed, struggle a lot with finger strength. They're like, my hands just aren't strong enough. And like my hands got to like grow and get strong as I got bigger and gained weight. Whereas an adult, like you just, whatever weight you're at, you know, you're like, okay, well, this is just like your finger strength is not meant to like hang on to these crazy small holds. So that's the one thing I say to adults, though, is like do a little bit of finger training at least to like ease into it. Doesn't have to be anything hard, but just to kind of get the ball rolling and do like, you know, a little protection for your fingers as well.
That's a good point because I've had twice now in my career, like just you feel that pop or you hear the pop.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's like not warming up and just going on something way too small for your ability. I've done that a couple times. Actually, the last time I did it was, I remember the date because I quit my job. Went to the gym. It was great. I quit my job. I loved it. Went to the gym March 3rd, 2020. Injured my finger up the forearm or whatever. And then the whole world shut down because of COVID.
I know. What a time. I was going to say, I was like, ooh.
Yeah. I was like, 2 weeks, the gym's closed. That's great because no one's going to surpass me because the whole gym's closed. No one can climb.
Yeah, you're like, what are they going to do?
Yeah. So, but then it ended up, you know, being a little weird for a long time.
Yeah.
And I healed and then, finally I was able to go back like a year later. But did COVID affect you in the gyms here in Arizona at all?
Well, so at the other house, I had a home gym, so I was never, and I had a weightlifting gym at home too. So training wise, I was okay. The gyms here were closed. Probably ended up being 2 months. I think that's how long they were supposed to be shut down for. And then they've more or less, I would say since May of 2020, they've been open. So, yeah, unfortunately, they did close for that period of time, but not nearly as bad as some other places.
Has it affected competitions as well? Has anything gotten canceled?
Tons of events were canceled. I mean, especially in the beginning. And now it's just like, there are definitely less competitions because I don't know, I guess just regulations vary between states and countries and whatever and people and their comfortability levels. But yeah, it's definitely not back to normal now as far as competitions go.
Yeah. Hopefully it can get there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
It'd be nice.
So what's next for you? You're staying on this consistent path of pro rock climber, hustle, work hard. Is there anything on the horizon that you're really aiming toward?
At the moment, I'm just like training hard and having fun. I think I'll have a competition in March, but other than that, I'm just really enjoying just life, I guess. Yeah,
That's great.
Life and training.
Yeah, because if you found what you love, and it's like you said, if there's competitions that are getting canceled, it's like you're still loving it.
Yeah.
You're still going to prepare.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's really weird. Like having the competitions get so weird over the past couple of years. It's like, I don't know, now I get to kind of relax a little bit more and like enjoy a little bit more, and I'm liking it a lot.
Hang out with the cats.
Yeah. Oh, they're so happy when I'm home.
Yeah. Sierra Blair-Coyle, thank you so much for joining again, and keep on inspiring. It's been so fun to just watch you continue to crush, continue to, hype people up with your journey, and thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I'm at the tippy top of my game, looking down at the rafters. Confidence.